It is 5:32. This is a meeting of the Community Investment Program Task Force. As authorized, it's June 6, 2022, is authorized by Section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code. This meeting may be convened in a closed executive session for the purpose of seeking confidential legal advice from the city attorney on any agenda item herein. The City of Rowlett reserves the right to reconvene, recess, or realign the regular session or called executive session or order of business at any time prior to adjournment. Process for public input: if you're not able to attend in person, you may complete the citizen input form on the city's website by 3:30 p.m. the day of each meeting, and all forms will be submitted to the task force prior to the start of the meeting. If anybody wants to make in-person comments, registration forms and instructions are available here at City Hall. So, the first order of business is consider approval of the minutes from the May 23rd, 2022 special meeting. Has everybody had an opportunity to go through the minutes? Are there any questions on them? If there are no questions, I'll make a motion to approve. I know, I'm entertaining a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Okay. Carried unanimously.
Was that unanimous? No abstentions?
No abstentions.
Thank you.
All right. First item on the agenda are subcommittee reports. Messaging. We had no updates. There was a reason for that we'll get into later, but I think we have a better idea now. Anything else from anybody on messaging? Okay. Outreach? Anybody from outreach?
I'll go back to messaging. I guess maybe this question's for Laura. On the messaging, did we, and I may have missed it, so I apologize, there's going to be a presentation that we were going to have available for going we're going for the park board on Wednesday. Is that been finished or later? Later on?
That's under outreach.
I guess I should wait for.
That's okay. Anything else on messaging? Okay. Anything from outreach?
Ditto.
Mike and I did have 2 farmers markets. The first farmers market, we used the scan sheet that's available. I'm sure all of you have seen that. If not, that's what it looks like. People can scan this with their phones. It brings up the survey. They can do it on their phone. The second meeting at the farmers market, we did have the computer, and it worked, as far as I know, very well. It could actually go in the computer and do the survey. And we also had occasion where couples would do the survey, one on the scan while the other was doing it in the computer. So that combination seemed to work really well. Now, in my opinion, the survey was well received by the people that I talked to at the farmers market. Now, that's a selected audience, of course, but a pretty good cross-section, I think, of the community. And as we approach people about the idea of setting priorities for our facilities, they seem to be agreeable to take the survey. And they dove right in. Now, having said all that, a number of our people just scanned this and then carried off the phone. So we have no idea if they actually ever took the survey or not under those conditions. So obviously the computer input is really the best way to go, because we can control and actually see people doing the survey there at the time. Whereas if they scan this, unless we actually watch them on the phone, we have no idea if they actually ever took the survey.
How many people do you think combined with taking the survey on the iPad and the sheet? How many people do you think?
Laura has the actual numbers of how many we've received.
Yeah, that would be purely a guess on my part. I would say I would say, I would guess about 10, maybe 12 people on the last farmer's market.
Can we get that on that? We can see.
We may have some.
We do have numbers.
Information.
But if we took a tally, well, I guess what he's getting at is if we took a tally, you get like 15 total.
Well, she has.
Yeah.
There's no reason to
We
guess,
did
we
not.
have the numbers.
No, but I'm saying like if he had,
Yeah.
he had the,
Plain simple.
if he had the people on the computer and then you had how many people scanned it, helping do the difference. Like if you had 20 and you had 15. then
I don't think so. I don't think we would.
You're saying,
And again, people can scan and not necessarily take.
that's what I mean. But I mean, saying like if you had a number of people scanned it.
No, we didn't try it.
So since we're
We probably should.
trying to play over-under on the numbers, why don't we just go ahead, can we provide the numbers?
Sure. So, and not only was the survey available through the brochure and the kiosk at Farmers Market, it has also been publicized on the city's website, city's social media, and so there are other places for people to access it. We've had 276 residents respond so far as of about 3:30 this afternoon.
This was pretty good. That's pretty successful.
276.
Yep.
276.
So it's a spreadsheet that's on my computer right now. I did sort it. Of the 276, I counted 78 no vote on responses.
So,
A lot of yeses, a handful of maybes, and a couple of maybes, but, and that was just the first column, so I didn't have a chance to scroll down and see the Hereford answers, but.
So, I think this belongs with messaging. There have been comments on the social media page, the Facebook page, when people, like Jeff sent out, can't take the survey. As members of this committee, would you prefer that we not engage, or does it matter?
You're engaging as residents, right? So, I don't think that's an issue,
Okay.
because it's on the personal page.
And I,
So, at that point, you're really a resident engaging others. So, this isn't a bond election, right?
Right.
It's just a priority list from our, no matter what, council can decide to do the top 4, they can only do 1, they can make that decision based on the amount that they're willing to raise taxes. This group is just providing a 1 through whatever list of priorities from the citizens. So I wouldn't think it would be a problem, you sharing that information.
So-
They'll answer on behalf of the city.
so as a citizen,
Yeah.
if we do see something, and what I want to do is if people are posting incorrect information or things like that, we would like to engage just as simply as, well, here's more information on that. So
Please email buildingourfuture@rowlett.com for more
Correct.
information.
Correct. Yeah, because that can be a
That
slippery
comes
slope.
directly to Laura and I, and we'll make sure they get the best information.
Okay, very good.
We did, to an extent that we could, screen the people as to be residents of Rowlett. So none of this should reflect people who don't live in Rowlett.
Well, the survey does the screening,
And
and
then,
if you'll recall,
There's stuff we
part
have.
of us being able to use the equipment was to accommodate the other questions that don't apply to residents.
We really need
So don't screen anybody, the survey will do that for us.
It'll just jump them to that last
Correct.
page, if you will, the last question. Okay.
So there were more responses to the survey, but 276 of those were residents.
right. Well, I just want to point out, we did try to screen that as best we could.
Not necessary, because we want all the information from everybody.
Okay.
Any other feedback on any of the other outreach events? Has anybody gone to, or met with any boards or commissions or?
Well, we'll be doing parks as was just pointed out. And as I just pointed out, the computer seems to be the best way to do the survey. Will we have access to the computer at the Parks Board meeting over?
So remember at the Parks Board meeting, you're sharing information with them so they can share it with their circle of influence.
Of course.
You're not necessarily asking the Parks Board to fill out the survey. I mean, they can go to the website, absolutely. They can email and ask additional questions, but that's not really your target audience, aren't the 8, 10, 12 people sitting in front of you. It's getting those people to share the information with their people. It's that whole right commercial, I told 2 people, and I told 2 people, and I told 2 people.
So we got a captive audience, we could go ahead and have them do the survey.
And there's
And they
a
can do
computer
that.
at the rec center if they want to do that, it's in the lobby.
Or
Oh,
let's make sure we have extra of the QR code sheets.
Yeah.
Then to go back then, I guess to my question of what presentation
I'm pulling it up.
should we throw out there?
We're getting it. And Shelley already has it, so Shelley
She
will
does
just pull it
have,
up.
it,
for
she's
you.
not gonna be there, so that's the other reason.
She will make sure that they have it. She will make sure that whoever is running the
Got it.
presentation for Parks Board has it. I sent it to Shelley this morning. Well, after Laura and I tinkered with it, then she
You
tinkered
got
with
it,
it,
yeah.
changed some words.
And we're gonna go to the special event
Yeah,
schedule,
this
but
one,
our,
I'll show you which one.
do we have this Thursday covered?
I need to
Yes.
change one more.
I'm doing this.
You're going to do farmers market?
Okay.
Okay.
Would you like some help?
I'm
I
going
don't think so. And my wife's I'm gonna take my wife with me. She said she'd hang out with me. I think that's
Which is this?
a Thursday farmer market.
Okay.
We'll go through the full.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't
I'm
said
not
it,
set up.
10 up or down, but that's, one person can do that.
I sort of say I'm going to do the Parks Department, bars, brats, and beers
Bruce.
at
Bruce.
Saturday. Did I
Okay.
do that right?
So,
There-
did you
there's
go
a-
in and fill out the form?
I'm sorry?
Did you go in and answer that, respond to that?
I did, the doodle, yeah.
Uh-huh, okay.
You still didn't get
If
it?
you have not gone in and done the doodle, please do the doodle and mark it off so we don't have so many people show up and not enough people show up, but please do that.
Well, we'll go through that. We have an agenda item for that, so I want to make sure.
Yeah,
we're
I'll
good.
get back to the reach.
I did have a question though about, just speaking with people at the farmers markets.
Yes.
Was there any just general conversation about, did people give any just feedback, talking with you, or they pretty much just take the survey?
I don't recall any particular conversation. We didn't attempt to engage that way. As I said, people were generally interested in doing the survey after we gave them a spiel about, and then they were quite anxious to do the survey. I didn't have a lot of pushback in my experience. I don't know about mine. No, I would say that there was not a lot of conversation about it as it was with the survey. We should have more to report on that.
Do we have a specific place we're supposed to set up? How are we doing Thursday? I don't really know where.
Yes, we
Yes.
have had 2 times.
I'll go over all that with you when you come pick up the stuff just before 5 on the first.
I'm sorry.
I'll go over all of that with you when you come pick up the stuff just before 5 on Thursday.
All right, anything else on outreach?
Here's the presentation.
And education?
Well, let's stick
You
with
want to,
outreach.
okay.
So this is the
Yes, ma'am.
presentation that you will do at boards. There is not a script because it's really relatively simple. Just read what's on the screen, and we got rid of that whole, you gotta have pictures and do all this. So, City of Rowlett needs your help. We wanna hear from you. City of Rowlett municipal facilities are in terrible shape. Customers must visit multiple locations to take care of business. Buildings are no longer efficient and are or accessible, and cost for repair, maintenance, and upgrades are mounting. City Council has tasked the CIPTF with obtaining citizen input as it relates to prioritization of the facilities and thresholds of costs. So then it kind of goes through, and I would just read it if I was doing it. Facilities being discussed, you've got those there. Public safety, yeah.
You go back one, please. it's okay if we did. Are we intentionally excluding Hereford from this slide?
It's coming up. It's
Okay.
at the, it's intention, because it's not a city facility
Right.
as it sits, so.
Okay, that's
yeah.
fine.
So then the public safety joint facility, the current facilities, when it was built, when we purchased it, some of the challenges with it, the fire admin, that the facilities don't meet best practice, and then a little bit about the new facility. Combined, the different things that'll be in it, how many square feet it is, and what the projected total cost is.
Andy, can you give an example of what not meeting best practice requirements is? Is that more for police and fire?
That's specifically police and fire. So they have very specific accreditation standards, and it requires accessibility, and it requires X amount of space. I mean, it's not much different than Parks and Rec's accreditation. We
Okay.
have some very specific things we have to meet, and so
That's what
that's
that ties to
basically,
right there.
yeah. Municipal complex or city hall, the current facilities and those challenges, some of the things you guys have heard and seen. And then the new facility would be the consolidation of 4 buildings, larger space to accommodate higher attendance at public meetings. Rowlett Public Library Phase 1, a little bit of information there about that. And I would just recommend, again, as you're doing this presentation, just walk through the words on the screen is the easiest thing. If you do that, and these guys can tell you, Jeff did this last time, it'll keep you from getting off track and answering questions that you're not going to be prepared to answer, right? So this is just about these folks taking this back to their circle of influence and making sure that their circle of influence sees the same information. Animal shelter, the same things you guys saw before. Built in '96, currently undergoing repairs to replace the HVAC, limited kennel space. We reached capacity very quickly. We've spent most of the last several weeks in the red zone. Public Works, current facility, new facility, same basic information on every single slide. Parks Department maintenance building, the current facility, and the new facility, and then Hereford Park Phase 2 and 3. So cost $2 million per phase, the entire project's about $4 million. We put the map in where Phase 1 is funded, it shows Phase 2 and Phase 3. You can see there it's 24 acres, it was built in the 70s and 80s. May 2020, we did a new site plan, and the phasing plan was approved by council. Phase 1 was funded in the 2018 CIP bonds, and then a little bit about the park itself. Hereford Park is a downtown destination park. A fully funded park means more event space, bigger special event opportunities, additional outdoor pickleball and tennis courts for use, and added amenities as Rowlett continues to grow. Again, we need your help. Please direct residents to our survey online, special events or kiosks. At this time, we're simply collecting data so that it can be provided to council so they can have a discussion about when and how much a bond election might be. And then how to access the survey so they can actually scan that right on their phone. You can see there it's at rowlett.com. And then have more questions, so they start asking you a lot of questions. Direct them to building our future at rowlett.com. That allows Laura and I make sure that the same message goes out every single time. So some of you will remember for the last bond election, Angie answered a ton of emails, and I literally used the same words every single time I answered them. That way the message was consistent.
Could this be
And it's
forwarded?
that short.
Could this be forwarded to us? So
Yeah,
it's-
yeah. We just finished it late this
No,
afternoon,
that's
so
fine.
we'll turn it into a PDF.
Will it live on the web page that's set for that very end?
It will not. The presentation as a whole,
Why isn't it good that something that talks about those phases and the costs be somewhere on our building our future web page?
Right now, we're getting input. More information comes later.
You know, nobody's gonna fill out the survey if they don't know the dollars. So, I understand today we can't be there,
Yeah.
but I think this probably
But it
should
is on
be
the
there.
survey.
Not all of this.
The numbers is on the survey.
On the survey itself.
Well, I mean, to this level and the pictures are on this.
Well, the pictures of Hereford are there on the survey. And then the specific numbers for each project are on the survey.
All the square footage and all of that.
No, not that information.
See, that's what I'm saying.
Would there be value to, how would you feel about having hard copies of that available for the board and commission members?
very expensive to print it. If your commission members want it, if boards and commission, if boards and commission members want it, their liaison can share the PDF with them. So I will tell you, most of them don't. Most of them are gonna say, hey, we're getting exactly what it says, right? Hey, we're getting priority list of facilities. That's the priority of this full presentation, is just more, what is the rank? And how much would you be willing to take in, how much would you be willing to support in tax?
To invest.
Yeah, to invest, that's the right word. I was looking for a word and I couldn't find one. So. I mean, it doesn't matter to me, you guys can decide if you want this on there, but there's gonna be videos, there's gonna be a lot of other ways that you're sharing information. Sometimes a static PowerPoint isn't the best way to do that.
Well, but perhaps we can,
Yeah, see, the videos are gonna be pretty short. They're gonna talk about 30 seconds at high level, and we would direct them to these pages to get more details.
That's just a lot of information to digest. I thought a hard copy would take.
well, hard copy,
We're not gonna do a hard copy because we're trying to go paperless. So it would either be put up on the website or, but there's a lot of other information up there, so up to you guys.
And this presentation is specifically geared towards
To boards
boards
and
and commission
commissions.
Oh,
members.
that good. So,
So-
yeah, we're only talking about 10 people.
Yeah.
10 copies.
Putting on that put it right there. If they want it, their liaison definitely, I mean, we get requests all the time on our boards as liaisons, hey, can you send me that presentation? And when I was on Parks Board, we did it all the time, if Parks Boards wanted it, if Park Board members wanted it.
Okay.
I can understand Brian's concern and wanting to have the information all at one time. But if you manage to get them to go to the survey, all that information is there.
100%. And this was written for a very specific audience. It was not written for every citizen. It was specifically to give your boards and commission members enough information that they can go out and say, hey, fill out this survey, right?
there's kind of a double-edged sword here. If we put out, so if we put out just the cost and the building and the square footage and stuff like that, without the context of what we currently have and stuff, then I think it starts to push people in a, well, it's a lot of money direction without understanding the context, as opposed to, well, if we can drive them to the website and get that information there, maybe with the videos will help. And as people see the facilities and the condition of the facilities, that might help. I'm not opposed to if you think printed copy would be good if you're going to visit someplace or something. I mean, I usually print it out myself, but I kind of agree. The less paper, the better. But I do think we need a place where somebody can go and, besides the survey, because we're limited to how much information we can put on the survey without it becoming a book as well, that people just kind of go and be like, oh, I get it now, or I understand. So,
I just think you accomplish a lot more with the videos. Even if they're on the webpage, you accomplish a lot more with the videos themselves
yeah,
than you do with it. We would have to change this a little bit, right? That
Yeah,
doesn't
you dropped
tell
the last
citizens
couple of,
anything.
yeah, the last couple of
And
decks.
so, I, just from experience, we do a lot of web stuff in the city, and a flat PowerPoint doesn't necessarily draw the most people. They open it, they see what it is, and they're off. A video, a 3 or 4 minute video, they're much more apt to just watch it.
we do tons of videos at work
Yeah.
now, and we're rolling out initiatives and stuff like that. The rule is no more than 3 minutes.
Right, yeah.
Just hit them with, if you can't get your message over in 3 minutes. So we might have to do multiples, but,
Yeah.
all right. Anything else on outreach? There were, well, let's talk about education next. I think that kind of, what you were talking about, Brian,
Yeah.
listen to that.
Good transition, I'll start. Asa and I met with Drew Ritz last Wednesday. We did about 2 hours of video. For the first of 2, potentially 3-minute videos. We did our introductory comments and closing comments and some kind of intermediate ones. Drew is then this week, first couple of days of this week, creating what's called Beat Reel. He's going to the sites. He couldn't come out Saturday, so he's doing site things based on 4 or 5 suggested specific areas of those facilities. They can pull some video from that. Again, each of those sites will only get 30 to 40 seconds. So it's going to be moving pretty quickly. But Drew mentioned today that he thought he could have the draft of that first video by the end of this week. And then we have Lisa and I take a look at it, run it by Eric and the team, whoever we see it. And then he can launch that early next week for the first one.
It would be nice when we launch that if, even if it's on a personal laptop, or even if somebody just has their laptop or a laptop at events that we're going to just have that running. And so, kind of, as they're taking the survey, or why am I taking the survey, have that video running, and they should know.
And we're trying to design it as more conceptual and engaging rather than just here's facts.
Right.
People tune out earlier on that. So
Awesome.
we try to make it somewhat lighthearted. Not this week, but the following week we'll get the additional content. Well, the first 3 that we highlighted are the animal shelter, the city main complex, and parks. It's going to be the first video. So we'll go to public safety, fire admin, and what else am I missing here?
So,
Public works in the next one. So that'll be about 2 weeks out. And then we'll do a kind of a Herford Park. I don't know that we need to do a lot of video there. We can probably just do an overview because we're gonna go show a picture of an old park that's about to be, raised. What good is that? It doesn't give them the vision that some of these other ones might. So
do we have any conceptual graphics? I know the ones there, the what the finished part is going to look like.
That one.
That one, we don't have kind of a flyover.
Those things cost too much.
I understand.
and an annual grandson that does really good.
Yeah.
Is the design team by any chance, I know they've done it for some of the parks, do a kind of their presentation that might have something like that we could?
They didn't do a flyover, they used that graphic there and walked council.
Okay, but they didn't actually have like an introductory 3-minute presentation.
No. They just, you have to understand, by the time this park went to council for the final time in May of 2020 to be approved, it had been to council 14 times in 22 different renditions. So the final meeting was relatively quick.
Drew is hoping to get some drone overviews,
Yeah.
and if he can do that over Hereford, we can have some, and maybe that might not be the video per se, it might, or we can potentially just put it on the web page too, and have some a little bit longer videos, on the web page.
I will tell you, I got an email from Drew late this afternoon. He's going to do his best to have you guys a draft by Friday. There is a possibility maybe early next week. We also have a council meeting this week that he is filming, so he's got, and he said currently he's at about 4 to 5 minutes, so he's got to see how he can cut some of that to get it down closer to the 3-minute mark, which is what our audiences watch. I mean, even in our 5 or 6 minute videos, at 3 they're gone. The viewership goes, so he's going to see what he can do to kind of crunch it up a little bit.
When does the survey close?
It'll be open as long as this group needs it open, depending on a June 21st conversation between council of when they might have a long lunch.
So this board's presentation to council is slated for July 19th. So the week before, it will be cut off or suspended in order to collect all data.
Yeah, so if the first video won't be done until late, or won't be pushed out until late next week. Next video comes out 2 weeks after, I just want to make sure that it was, so.
We're pushing, we can still make our recommendations to council though, and it's really their job to determine when they might propose to have the bond election.
And again, they'll have that meeting on June 21st to have that conversation, and if it gets postponed, that just expands the amount of time this group has to get feedback from the public. So they chose to do it in May or the following November, or, that just gives this group.
Education, this would be education for us. Is it possible to get the survey returns? Just the raw data? Okay. Would y'all like to see that as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on education?
Ryan is incredible. He's an actor, that's where he's going out, he's a stage performer, but he did the script for it. Seriously, there's more money there. Drew was even like, this would have taken us like 10 hours, but you guys, he asked if we'd done professional work before or something. It was just like, so, I don't know who found this guy, but Brian is the man.
Brian who?
Oh, just
gosh.
that, just in the Lucas.
I know Tim.
Oh yeah, Brian Lucas. It is amazing. It was awesome.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing that.
All right, next item, review of the city facilities tour. Boy, did I get a wake up on a couple of things. I mean,
It's back.
some we knew, those parks guys deserve medals.
I do.
They really do.
It takes a lot of love to get them to work out there. It's the best way I can put it to you.
It's embarrassing and sad. to see.
So,
Animal shelter, the needs are so great, it's unbelievable.
so we can kind of go in reverse or go through the order that we did things, and we can, anybody has any comment on it, just go ahead and add it in. We started here, did the walkthrough here. We had heard, you know, we had been kind of prepped somewhat by staff on what the conditions were, but I think it was nice to see some of the problems in person. Any feedback on that part of it, for those who were there? No? Okay. Then we went to the library, which is very nice. The library staff are awesome. You know, that's one of those things that we have options, but not having control over the property, being tenants, if you will, we're kind of limited as to what we can do. So they've done great things with the library for what they have to work with, and they will continue to. But again, you know, it's not city space. We went next to PD and the courts. The courts are in decent shape. I mean, in my professional experience working worked with courts that size, they're okay. But that's not really what the issue is. The issue is the rest of that building. It's not in terrible shape. They have just outgrown it, and it doesn't meet the needs of PD. You know, one of the things that still stands out to me is how diverse their workforce has become. And they don't even have enough lockers and facilities for the female staff who are employed there.
Yeah, I think what really stood out to me, and I never thought about it, Dan brought it up, was security in that building. I started looking at it with an eye to security. I'm standing in the courtroom, and the shades are down, but it's all plate glass windows.
They're bulletproof.
They're bulletproof.
In fairness.
Well,
They're a level 3 bulletproof, which is municipal complex
yeah,
rated.
I guess that makes me feel better. You know,
Well,
but
so
it just really seemed like, you know.
So all the lobby windows are bullet resistant, but all the exterior windows,
Yeah.
you throw a rock.
No, they are. That's not correct. They are ranked
On the
a
correct-
level 3 on the
Well, it makes me feel a little bit
roadside.
better. You know, Dan brought that up.
And,
It just really.
Really?
So, yeah. So, and our team, council actually approved upgrading those several years ago. And there was some discussion back and forth about what level they should be. And our team has actually even found some film that you put on that will take it up a few more levels.
Right.
But they were inspected recently and are currently at a level 3 bullet resistant, not bulletproof, bullet resistant class. And,
I didn't know.
yeah,
We were under the understanding that they weren't
Yeah.
at all.
we got it all.
Well, the other side of that though too is visual security. I mean, basically, you know, they have to keep the blinds drawn and stuff
Yeah.
like that. For CGIS compliance, you know, they're not going to be able to have any windows with shades open or anything where somebody might be able to see a workstation or anything. So that was good. Jailers are doing great with what they have to work with too. But really, they've just outgrown the space. Went to fire admin next, and if anybody else wants to comment on that, I might have too much of an inside angle on that.
I think you missed a big one, the
Oh, the
evidence.
property and evidence building.
That was horrendous. Horrendous.
And it can't be, you know, interior doors that can't be secured.
The
The
building's
building's
all
settled
over.
for
Well,
it.
you've got the space underneath the walls where it's lower, I mean, it's not an inch or 2 inches, it's good 4 inches.
Yeah.
3-4 inches, I mean, there's nothing more than liability. I mean, you get rodents and some stuff in there getting into the property room, and they're starting, they start nesting in a big bag of weed or something, you know.
Well, and it seems a little unhealthy too, because, I mean, people get own contact time in that building. As soon as you walk in, woof, it smells.
Oh, yeah. You knew you were either in an evidence building or a den. So, anything else, any comments?
I didn't go Saturday, but I did go to the police station, yeah, even the closet outside the chief's office that got leaked, like before I got there, ruined a ton of stuff. And it was just
Yeah,
multiple
talking
times
about
that's
that,
happened.
yeah.
So, I mean, they outrun it, even everything, and dilapidated, the women's locker room, or if they, somebody's on the roof, they can't go in there, period, because I think the roof access was, and then the 3 or 4 women's lockers were like, had like a foot and a half between a wall, like they just jammed some lockers in the corner. It's crazy.
Speaking of flooding, back to the library, that was a huge issue because they've had
Yeah.
flooding problems already, and
Yes.
they've managed to.
We believe that situation is remedied. This was not tied in correctly, so just in fairness, that
Right.
was a one-time thing that I believe we have found relief.
Okay. Well, that was a sewage one. Was there not also a leak from during the freeze?
During the freeze, yeah.
Yeah. Fire admin, I mean, it's literally,
Disintegrating.
Yeah.
It's an old facility.
yeah, not just cosmetically, but structurally. And we know from being on those floors upstairs and stuff, you know, the concrete subfloors starting to fall apart and stuff, so it's bad. Then we went to animal shelter. Again, I can't thank staff enough for doing what they do and what they have to work with. One of the things that we may not have realized when they were having an adoption event that day, or there would have been even more animals in there. So, you know, they try to expand and do what they can with the space that they have, but we really need to, you know, come into this century at least. Any other comments? I'm still working on adopting a dog, by the way, from the visit on Saturday.
I'll just make one comment that there was some Brian said that I appreciated. It kind of put things in context for me. Because, you know, we go around and we look at these and go, oh, dear Lord, these are just atrocious. You know, some of these are just really, but he made the comment that for a city our size and where we're at kind of in our growth cycle, that this was kind of natural. You know, it's not like we're just way behind and we're cave dwellers or something. That it's, you know, this is just kind of the progression, and being proactive, doing what we're doing now is really important, but it's part of the life cycle of the growth of the city. And so that was a good comment. That's, I know for me that's sort of put things into perspective that maybe I haven't thought of before.
I know y'all heard me tell you the story about Rockwall, right? Rockwall built brand new city hall, brand new senior center. May of 2001, they opened the doors. We're not on in 5 years, and that didn't happen. We hit a recession, that never, and still to this day hasn't happened. And their facilities look a lot like ours now, after 22 years of how many more people can you shove in. You know, Brian and I were having that conversation today. If some of the staff would get approved in budget, what are we gonna do with them? Because it is a real challenge, and you need those staff to meet the needs of our public, but we don't have anywhere to put them. So we were already planning today about how to shuffle admins into different places and do that kind of stuff.
A lot of
So,
she sheds.
yeah.
Well, you know, the other side of that though too is I've said this many times, I plan on retiring in Rowlett, probably dying in Rowlett. I'd like to be proud of my city, you know, and I think with the growth that we're experiencing and the direction that we want to go, in North Texas, I think that we need to show that same attention to
And it's difficult because we're not Allen, we're not Frisco, we're not Plano, they have all this commercial tax dollars coming in and pouring in. So it's even more challenging for a city like ours, where we're very reliant on residential. The impact of approving these facilities will impact residential.
I mean, what staff has to do is tough, don't get me wrong, but it's also very difficult for our public, right? We don't have a one-stop shop. If you want to get a permit, you gotta go to this one, and then you gotta go to that one. If you want a special event permit, you go somewhere different. If you want to pay your water bill, you go somewhere. You can't drop it off anymore unless you drop it off somewhere different, because, it's a real challenge for our citizens too.
Yeah, and that's the way that things are going with centralized anything. It's literally a one-stop shop. You can go one place, pay your tickets,
Here's 3 lobbies, and
pay
you do everything
your water
at one time.
bill, or a lot of it digitally too. So,
One thing I took away from the trip, we really need to emphasize with the community, we're not just talking about older facilities that need to be repaired and replaced and so forth. We're out of space. We simply don't, every place we visited said the same thing. We just don't have room for all the people we need to serve this community this summer.
well, I think some of the biggest concerns that people bring up, if you go on social media and stuff like that, are services. And you can only do so much with services if you don't have the space for the people to do that. So, Public Works, we learned some really cool things there. So, I had been there, so any comments from anybody?
I was surprised to learn someone does equipment rodeo.
No, that's right.
Every year.
Can have a ringer. Yeah.
She even has her special boots for that one occasion.
I suspect she wears a blue coat.
But there again, they're out of space. They're all piled on top of each other. I don't know how they function.
Well, even the new sign making equipment and stuff, and granted, they were in the phase of unpacking and stuff, but it's literally gonna be crammed in that back space back there. You get something to try to improve or be efficient and stuff, but you're still like jammed into a closet. And then we went out to Community Park and saw the Parks facility. Those guys out, those folks out there are superheroes. They have really maximized what they could do with that space, but it's pretty much maximized. It's amazing when your discussion point is, thank goodness they have a nice bathroom to use.
Now,
Now, yeah, but it wasn't always that way. Yeah, those guys do a lot with that. So any questions, any other questions? No?
Just to comment on Public Works, as much as I've been through there 3 times with tours, I really value what I call their esprit de corps. The way that they work together, and the way that they apparently are trained, and simply put on their gear and go out and do the jobs, sometimes very dirty jobs, that they do every day. Now I know when we toured it on Saturday, not this Saturday, but previous tours, there was hardly anybody there in the facility. But everything is very well organized. Everything seems to be in its place. What I'm termed shipshape. You knew where things belonged, and that's where you want to find them. And so it's just whatever the organization is, whoever's directing it, just kudos to them.
Yeah, I don't think, a lot of people, you hear Public Works, you don't realize how many different groups or specialties are involved in
Yeah.
that. It's not just roads, and it's not just, water transportation, it's roads, it's everything. It's signs, you know. I didn't know we did all our own signage. I really didn't. There's just so many things and so many
Traffic
moving parts.
lights.
Traffic lights. It's just everything. So,
And something I was just thinking about is how it impacts the citizens individually and specifically is we're noticing it since COVID, the delay of everything. And it seems like for example, if you just need to hire 8 people, and you have absolutely nowhere to go, like just looking at 2 years, maybe 30 people, and then all of a sudden you call dial 911 and it takes, instead of 9.8 seconds, it's 35 minutes. And it's as soon as you want something in public works, you've got a week, and it's like, all right, we'll be out there turning water off in 2 weeks because we have, 10, so it makes so much sense. Because I guess since the very beginning of this onset, I'm like, well, how are we functioning if we need 1 billion square feet and only have 10,000 square feet? And now I'm seeing exactly I hope we can convey that to residents.
I think if the videos are done right, just showing a video of the property evidence building, that should, well,
Yeah.
maybe do a lot of blurring, but.
But, yeah, that's it, right? That's what this group is here to tell that story. And
yeah.
I think you gotta remember that we're not going to hire people because we don't have room. Like, I can almost promise you, because I've heard this joke 100 times, Brian Thunderbird made a bump gas joke, right? And you probably heard it more than one time. I hear it a lot. But we're gonna do what we have to do, just like I said today, as we talk about, what positions do we need coming in. We're not gonna not hire the 8 officers because we don't have anywhere for them. We may have a portable building out back like schools do, but we're gonna make sure that as much as we can, we have what we need to serve our residents. We're never gonna make them wait for a service. Public Works has done something very unique in the last 90 days. They no longer, they still have a wastewater and water department. They still have a streets department. They still have, but those guys all pitch in to help take care of stuff. So if there's a major leak, the primary crew's out there, and then the secondary crew's out there to give that primary crew a break to be able to make sure those things are getting done. Again, today we had that conversation about you end up with a grant coordinator, a grant writer, and a diversity coordinator. What do you do with them? Well, we start moving people out of private offices into more shared space or open space, and that's how it works.
Well, I think another key point that was brought up when we toured parks was, the facilities or the working conditions that people are expected to work in. You get good people if they have good places to work and they feel valued. If they're working if they're hoteling actually out of a shipping container office, it's hard to get people. Yes, we can put modulars behind the police
That's a
station,
soft problem.
but
No, it's a very
And
that was
everything has
my
a price
follow-up.
attached to it.
Like you said, you'll hire the people that need to be hired, but then if you're like, and this is your office now,
Yep.
you're under this desk here.
That's the challenge.
They're gonna be in the restroom.
That's 100% the challenge.
And they'd be like, oh, but Alan, and they have pearls and marble, must be, or whatever. That'd be real good.
Before the tour, I asked, recognizing the need is so great, are there alternatives of funding besides going to community for bond? When we were receiving feedback early on that the community may not be all that interested in a bond election right now, are there other alternatives to explore?
I messaged Elon Musk.
There's not a lot of municipal facility grants, to be honest with you. There are police grants. A lot of it's staffing, not facilities. So that's the challenge. I mean, that's really, it's not like we have a ton of stuff sitting around to sell. Can't sell this building until we move out, or we're literally working on the lawn across the street. So it opens up some challenges.
And really, to get back to our mission is just to find
Priority
out,
list.
get the priority list, and
Let
recommend
council
that to
figure out the
council.
rest of it.
And there may be alternatives, but that would then be council and staff's, process to figure out if there are alternatives to this.
Well, like I said, only because people ask, so you should talk about facilities.
There are not a lot of grants. The answer is there are not a lot of grants out there for municipal complexes. So,
Yeah, and the other way that
you
it
can
might
install
happen,
LED lighting, but they don't really build facilities so much, so.
and the other way that we might get that to happen, I don't want ever to happen again in the city. So any other feedback on the tour? Thank you, staff, for putting that together.
Yeah.
Laura,
Okay.
you were a great tour guide. Brian was very helpful as well, so really appreciate it. As we go to the special event schedule, can we pop that up real quick?
It is a piece of paper that I printed from my computer.
Okay.
So for special events,
Do we
Mike,
still
you're
have-
doing Thursday. You
This
said
Thursday,
you're,
the following Thursday.
no. This Thursday is 9,
Yeah.
and then the 23rd.
Oh, yeah.
So, we only have one person, we only have Mike for this Thursday. Now, setting up, I'll help you set up, but taking down, it is a at least two-person task. So, you said you were bringing your wife, is she staying with you the whole time, so you're
We
good?
just live right down the street.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is she willing to take that on? Because I would come help.
She loves me, she'll help.
I mean, I don't mind coming out and helping if you-
If I need a place to sleep, that the week after, no.
We'll get it.
I'm up the street too, so after work I can get over.
I'm sorry?
I live down the street too, so I can help. Maybe you guys want to.
Okay,
help.
I got your phone number from, we got it right here. I may text you, may kind of hang loose around 8:15, 8:30 or so. And, yeah, that'd be helpful. Do that.
For Barks, Brews, and Brats, I have Eric and Missy.
Did you- You were gonna be there too, or was that you, Jeff?
No, that was it.
Okay.
But signed up, I have Eric and Missy. And if you'll come to the office here Friday before we close at 5, I'll give you all the stuff. Thursday the 16th, we need someone for Farmers Market, 1 or 2 for Farmers Market. Thursday the 30th, need someone for Farmers Market. Need more for July 4th. So far, I only have one person for July 4th. And again, that can be rotating schedule. So again, I'm going to direct y'all back to the doodle link that I sent you. Please check those off. And then Thursday, July 7th, Farmers Market. I don't have anybody.
Do you have me down for July 4th? Oh, I signed
Yes.
up. Yes, okay. And we'll probably have to split our time between there and Marks too.
Yeah, I'm kind of out on the board. I'll be there, but
Right. Otherwise occupied. So, for the boards and commissions meetings, Angie's doing golf in the morning. Eric, you're doing, COAD on Wednesday.
yeah.
I need someone for, Tuesday the 14th at 6:30 for arts and humanities.
I'll do that.
Okay.
Sure you don't want to golf with me in the morning? At 7.
Thank you.
And arts and humanities is at the library.
Right.
We've got Mike and Richard doing parks. I need someone for library advisory on Thursday the 16th at 6:30. I have someone doing seniors. I have someone doing youth advisory. I have someone doing economic development.
What was the one on the 16th?
16th is library at 6:30. It's a Thursday.
I can do that one too.
Okay.
I can help on the evening shifts if there's any additional.
Okay, and then we have diversity, equity, inclusion on Wednesday, the 22nd at 7. And that's here. Are we done? Thank you. And also, the ones that I've gotten today, I'll send out. And then I'll send out a reminder to complete the special events for the ones that we don't have listed.
If we go back to that doodle link that you originally said, let us see the calendar if we want to add something.
I don't know what it lets you see.
Let me see.
I don't know what it lets you
Oh, you
see.
don't know what it lets us see, okay, so, no, I wasn't quite sure what days it's at.
Oh, I can tell you that if you want.
Yeah, okay, well,
Yeah.
I got it.
Laura, can you add me to the diversity and equity with Missy? It's Wednesday, 22nd.
And as I said, I brought here. Or the chamber.
If you mentioned it, Laura, I didn't hear it, but KRB is Thursday the 16th, and I'm on that board.
Oh, that's a good one, too.
Well, yeah.
Beautiful on the 16th, so I can't do farmer's market that night.
That's a Thursday.
And KRB is an independent, they're not a city-sponsored board, so that's not why they're not on our boards and commissions.
So that's why I
Yeah.
mentioned it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the farmer's market 16th, I can't do.
Right, but you sent me an email, but I need you to go to the doodle link and check off the dates that you can do.
That was just making sure that the doodle worked.
And I will be off the grid literally from the 26th to July 3rd. I think we
You
have
should
any
be able to
meetings.
see what you checked. Shelley uses Doodle a lot for different meetings and stuff, so you should be able to tell what you checked in Doodle if you open it.
Does it have an option to add it to the calendar?
No.
It's not. It's more of a polling software
Right.
than anything else, but if memory serves me right, she uses it with staff too, so she would use it with us when we were in Parks and Rec. And I think it tells you what you voted for or signed up for.
So, really quick, our next meeting is the 21st.
20th, Monday the 20th. And I was going to ask if you wanted to keep that meeting because council's discussion is on Tuesday the 21st.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to cancel the 20th and then resume the first Monday in July.
Well,
Is that after the 4th? That's the 3rd.
the first Monday in July is the
3rd.
4th or something like that.
It is July 4th, this
Yes.
Monday.
Yeah. So, the only, not to put more meetings on it, but the only reason I would look at the 20th is we hopefully will have had an opportunity by then to go through the survey results we have so far and kind of be able to start crafting a message to get to council. The videos will be out by then too, and hopefully that will drive some more feedback and we can start, crafting a message.
What time does council meet on the 21st?
Either 5 or 5:30, depending on when the agenda is posted.
And that is not a joint meeting, so that's just a discussion among council on when they prefer to have the.
You're welcome to attend.
Yeah,
because it's an
absolutely.
open
I didn't mean
meeting,
that.
But it's not going to be a joint discussion.
Oh, okay.
It'll
That's
just
what
be,
she means.
yeah, it'll be observers, citizens. Any specific requests for the next agenda for the 20th?
Do you want to keep the committee reports?
I do. And I guess as part of one, I guess education or outreach, one of the two, kind of get a chance to go through the video and go through new materials that are out there. And kind of, I'm excited about that. Thank you again, Lisa. For working on it together. Probably don't need to review the special events schedule, well, that would be part of outreach too. So if we have any feedback or anything, we can just include that in the outreach from events we're attending or responses. Okay. Anything else? Do I have to motion to adjourn? All right,
Say it.
it is 6:32. Motion for meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.